Hey guys, dot number one here. Today I'm going to be doing the 10.25 patch notes rundown for TFT. Supposedly the last patch of 2020. Yeah, I've glanced over what the patch has already said, and I definitely think it is, as they say, a decently conservative and necessary patch. It takes power away from some of the strongest comps right now, and gives some power to comps that are not even that are not viable, basically. So I think it's a very balanced patch. I actually think it's a very good patch. But yeah, we'll go ahead and run down and take a look and see what we have to say about that. So just a real quick disclaimer, this is my first video of the sort. It's my first ever patch rundown of any kind. So I'd like to apologize if I make any mistakes, and by all means, any improvements or suggestions for improvements I would love to hear, and I would be more than happy to apply in future videos. But yeah, it's my first ever one, so please forgive me if I make any mistakes or anything like that. Yeah. Another disclaimer real quick, I'm not Challenger, I'm NA Masters. Here's my LOL chest if you are interested. My current peak is just 200 LP. So if you want to, only hear a Challenger's thoughts on it, you can go watch somebody like Soju or something instead. But I want to make a video like this because I want to say something about it and start putting my, start thinking more actively about the patch and stuff like that, and how I can improve as well, based on this kind of stuff. Okay, so this is fantastic, fantastic diagram, but you can look at it yourself and you can just sort of think about it. So I just want to go straight into the systems and the actual buffs themselves, because this doesn't tell me anything. So bench overflow changes. Well, actually, let me take that back. This tells you a lot. I highly recommend going through this even outside of looking at this stuff on your own. But I want to keep this video under 20 minutes, so I'm just going to keep going straight on because I tend to talk a lot. So yeah. So bench overflow changes. This does not matter in the slightest. If this is affecting you in your games, you're probably in bronze or silver. And this is like, even in that elo, that's not going to affect you. If you're in bronze or silver and you think this is a problem or you're annoyed about this, yikes. I'll coach you for free. Yeah. Base row percentages right over here. Okay, so this is kind of whatever. So you're gonna see less level 1 costs at level 7, and then you're gonna see slightly more for costs at level 7. So I don't really see this affecting very much. This is maybe gonna have an effect in 1 out of every 10 or so games. The only thing this could possibly affect, right, is if your board is pathetic at level 7, you're doing a roll down for Dusk, you have a 2% higher chance of seeing that Riven, 2% higher chance of seeing that Jhin, and a 2% lower chance of seeing that Vayne. That is the only possible thing that I could see affecting you. Outside of that, this isn't really going to do anything. It's fine, honestly. A lot of times when you're hitting level 7, because it's such a fast 8 meta right now, a lot of times when you're hitting level 7, you're just looking to level anyways. And so having that 2% increased chance to find your 4 cost feels pretty okay. But I don't think this is a huge change. Yeah, moving on. Okay, so this is my second take of doing this video, and in my first take, I couldn't really express myself correctly, which is why I'm doing the second take of this. So now let me try this again. Divine damage reduction and true damage down by 5%. I think this is actually huge. 5% doesn't seem like a lot, but hear me out. In many cases, when you're trying to stabilize your board mid-transition to Warwick, when you're running a 1 Warwick, you cannot stabilize the board unless you have high-rolled your other units, as in you have a Shen, or you have a Yone, or you have a 2-cost Irelia, you have a 2-cost Jax. What happens even when you have those units is your Warwick just barely survives. Your Warwick can still die at this point, even with best in slot. So this damage reduction nerf, I don't really care about the true damage too much. True damage nerf too much, not a big deal. I guess you get less lifesteal, but I mean, that's not a huge deal. But this damage reduction is huge. Your Warwick might actually die a lot earlier, and it's going to mean that if you're begging for Warwick to stabilize your board, like if you have no HP and you have to get this transition off, then this 1-star Warwick's not going to do it for you anymore. In many cases, I think this could actually affect you in 4 or 5 out of every 10 games that you play. On the other, in the other 5 or 6 games, you have the HP to sustain this, so it doesn't matter until you hit your 2 Warwick. Or stuff like that. But like even at 2 Warwick, I think this could affect you. especially with how good Jin is with Haj right now. Yeah, I think this is actually really, really big. Okay, Elderwood, I think this is really necessary. Elderwood is a worthless synergy right now because Talon's not in the game. So I think this is a really, really big buff, especially with Talon. Later on, you'll see that he comes back a little bit. I don't actually know if it's going to bring him back, but he comes back a little bit. So I think this is really, really necessary. Nobody's going 9 Elderwoods. The only comp you're going 9 of is honestly 9 Warlords anyways, if you're doing even that. So, I mean, they didn't even change it. It's like, I think like a 5 buff here would have been fine. But a 5 buff to level 1 and level 2 feels really good, because every time you find like an Elderwood Chosen on your roll down and you're running it in conjunction with your Warwick, you feel pretty bad because Elderwood doesn't do anything for you. But even with the, like, I don't know how much this 5 MR armor is going to do, but it's a nice buff. It's necessary. Elderwood is otherwise unplayable. Now, where it is interesting is in conjunction with this. The only time you're ever going 6 mage is basically when you're running a Vygar carry. So with the Elderwood buff on top of the Vygar carry, this could help you in terms of... so the problem with Vygar right now is he's not consistent as a carry just because he doesn't perma-heal like he used to with all of his casts, and he doesn't never die. He actually dies really easily. So with this 5 buff, or like let's say you're running 6, I don't know, somehow you're running 6 Elderwood and 6 mage, or if you're running 6 mage and 3 Elderwood, right? Or 6 mage and 6 Elderwood, 3 mage, however you're doing it, although I don't think you ever want to be going, I mean, I guess you could if you have the stacks, right? But this makes Vygar a little more viable of a carry. I think this will more consistently get you top 4s now if you happen to hit a chosen Elderwood or chosen mage Vygar. One thing I will say is if you're trying to force Vygar, I don't know what you're doing, because it's still not a very consistent or good carry, but you can do it if you want to. All right, Vanguard armor. So this is very interesting to me because, so ignore the 8, ignore the 6. Those two don't matter. It's the 2 and 4 Vanguards that matter, and 4 even barely matters. It's mostly the 2 that matters, because what happens is in many cases you run Vanguard just to be that extra frontline or that extra synergy as you're building your early comp. So if you're running Warlords, you might be running Garen and Thresh, and you're putting in like a Vayne so that you can get the Dusk Vanguard Warlord board. Or even mid game when you're running Cultists, right? You can have that Aatrox with your something like that, or early game if you don't have any other Vanguards, you're maybe going Hecarim and Thresh, or Hecarim and Wukong. Whatever the case, this is actually really big. It will more consistently get your cast off. Hecarim also gets another buff later on, which you'll see, but this also helps Hecarim sustain for longer and be more of an actual frontline tank. And this 50 armor buff at 4 Vanguards might actually even encourage you to go 4 Vanguards, which most people don't do already. I still don't know if it's going to be worth it, but I mean, it is something that looks like mid-game is going to be very strong. Especially even in mid-late game, when people are rolling down for their Warwicks and their Jins, especially if you only have a 1 Jin, this is very big. This is very, very big in that regard. But I think that this 2 Vanguard is what we're looking at most, and I think it can be very significant. That's soaking maybe like 2 or 3 autos, or maybe like 1 or 2 autos. I think that's very big. All right, moving on to the champions. So Diana nerf, 4-cost Diana can still top you a lobby. I don't think it can first place you a lobby consistently anymore, but I think it can at least consistently get you like maybe like top 3. This is gonna make it so it's maybe top 4. I think that's fine. I think that's balanced. Fiora, I don't even want to bother reading this. Fiora is so bad. If you see a chosen Fiora early, you just FF your game. Like, it's not worth playing the game anymore. This is so... Okay, I mean, let's be clear, these buffs are good. They make Fiora more viable, but it doesn't make playing Fiora feel any better. This, like, Fiora is the worst unit in the game. Alright, this I don't understand. So, the Lissandra 1,000 daggers damage, right? 2-star Lissandra is good early. 3-star and 4-star Lissandra are sort of where the power is, right? Like when you're playing your Lissandra reroll, or when you're playing a 3-star Lissandra in conjunction with like Diana or something, right? It feels really good mid-game, because when you have your 3 or 4-star Lissandra, you're one-shotting like 3 to 4 units on one cast. But the problem is, it's not a consistent unit that can ever win you a lobby or even get you top 4, because by the time you get your 4-star Lissandra, it's usually not early enough to the point where, like Diana, it can actually carry you a game. It's just going to give you basically a free 5 to 6 rounds, and then you're done. You just fall off and you start losing rounds. So I don't actually understand why we're nerfing 3 and 4 by 50, because I think if you hit 3 or 4-star Lissandra, you should be allowed to win those rounds. I don't think Lissandra's impressive enough to actually like win you a lobby. So if you're playing, so you're basically never playing Lissandra reroll anymore. The only time you're ever playing Lissandra anymore is in conjunction with Diana or Aphelios, because this is hefty. This hurts. Yeah, I really don't know what to say. I don't think this is a good nerf at all. Yeah. All right. This is interesting because I think Maokai is already extremely busted in conjunction with 6 brawlers, but only 6 brawlers. If you have 6 brawlers, Maokai's never dying. He's almost solo-handedly like carrying your team because he's slowing the entire enemy team, and your backline Kindred is just wiping the entire enemy, all of the enemy units. But the thing is, standalone or even in just 4 brawlers, Maokai feels worthless. So I actually think this is a very good buff. We'll definitely have to see how this affects the game. But I think this is very, very good. Yeah, it makes Maokai a lot more useful. He doesn't feel as bad to just run randomly in your team anymore. Usually you actually prefer a 2-star Tahm Kench, so this maybe makes your 2-star Maokai preferable. I don't know. But I definitely like this, but it does make 6 brawlers feel a lot worse. Alright, this right here, the Wukong buffs are necessary. If you see a chosen Wukong early game, you almost always want to sell it at first neutrals. And so yeah, seeing this feels really good because this maybe makes you want to play it to at least second neutrals. I don't even know if that's true, honestly, just because I don't think Wukong is a consistent enough 1-cost frontline or carry, but maybe this makes you want to do that. I know some people are going to be like, hey, but Wukong is really strong in my games. Just build stronger boards, bro. That's all I got to say. Learn how to position. Okay, right over here. Aphelios AD nerf, super necessary. Aphelios is such a menace right now. People aren't even really playing it as a carry, but whenever it is played and they actually hit the Aphelios just runs over an entire lobby. So I think this is really necessary. I still think Aphelios is playable even with this 5 AD nerf. So that's why I think this is really necessary. Hecarim total mana going down, this buff is nuts because Hecarim will 100%, because of the Vanguard buff and this now, 100% will be able to get his cast off, and even earlier. So he's getting that healing off, and he can maybe even get 2 or 3 casts off. I think this is insane. It makes Hecarim a lot more playable. Hecarim was not very strong anyways. Now, I know people are going to say, hey, every single lobby, every single mid-game, there is one player that is going like Yuumi, Janna, Veigar, and Hecarim and whatever, right? And I always get 607 node. And that's true. Every lobby, there's going to be that one player that's going that and is 607 owes you mid-game. That player's never winning the lobby. So I think this is necessary. The problem is that comp only spikes mid-game and only shits on the low rollers. Once you hit late game, like, it maybe guarantees you top 4, but not even that. Like, once you hit late game, this comp falls off way too hard. J4 nerfs is fine, necessary. Silas buffs, worthless. I'm not even going to go over it. You're never 3-starring, 4-starring your Silas. Vi nerfs, I don't really understand because I don't think Vi is very consistent of a unit already. Vi basically only has like 3 or 4 rounds where she is actually going to be really, really good. Outside of that, I think she's pretty worthless. You're never 3-starring your Vi. That's just not a carry, so I don't understand why they would nerf any of this. I guess they're decreasing the amount of time that she takes to cast in return, so I guess it just makes her a little bit more utility instead, so you're just hoping to get off like 2 or 3 casts instead of I guess 1 or 2 casts. In that case, I guess it's fine, but I don't know. I guess I like it in the sense that they're making Vi more viable by forcing her to be more utility based, but it's whatever. I don't think Vi was ever a problem anyways. You're never running Vi for the sake of running Vi. Okay. I don't know why they're changing this about Evelynn. The only time you're running Evelynn is Cultist or in conjunction with Zed, and in either of those 2 comps, Evelynn's not what you're scared of. So I don't know why they're decreasing this. I guess they're increasing this in return. But I just don't think that it really matters. I mean, maybe. I don't see this mattering too much. I wouldn't have nerfed Evelyn. Sure, once in a while she pops off, but like, I don't even think Evelyn is a problem. All right, this Kalista attack speed nerf. I don't think Kalista's a very good unit either. She gets popped way too easily. But this bug fix is huge and makes Kalista carry potentially playable. So this bug fix comes in two parts. The first one I think is the most important one, because what'll happen is in many cases you're up against, say, like a Thresh or something, right? And your Kalista is throwing spears, and then what'll happen is she will pop her execute too early. The unit will survive because of the shields, and he'll just keep getting shielded. You'll lose all your spears, and you will never kill that unit. The second part is the interaction with Haj, GS, that kind of stuff, which is good, but it's whatever that they're fixing that. I think this first part is what is most important, and it actually makes playing Kalista viable. I wonder if that's actually the reason why they're nerfing the attack speed, but I think that's huge. The Lux chosen set. So the way Lux works is basically she gets her, I think it's 6 autos off, and she procs Divine, and her Spellcast goes off. So the fact that they're changing it is really good, because it makes it so this Lux chosen gets the Divine proc off, and the spell power buff just means that I actually wonder if this means that if you find a chosen Lux, you're just going straight 9, because I think that's actually really good, and it's probably going to win you a lot of rounds. I think this is an insane buff. Xin Zhao has been a unit that Riot's been trying to buff and make more playable as a temporary carry, and it just hasn't worked. But these buffs are kind of hefty, so I wonder if, well, okay, this definitely makes it so that if you find a Xin Zhao, you are more willing to play it even as a standalone unit. In conjunction with Warlords, I already actually think Xin Zhao is really good. This makes him probably fall off a little bit later, maybe 1 to 2 rounds later, which is really, really good, because that takes you to neutrals that allows you to sell, level, and roll down. So I actually think this is really, really good, really, really balanced. Hopefully this makes Jhin viable, because I really like Xin Zhao, actually. When Jhin first got reworked, I was actually trying to theory craft a comp where you could have a Xin Zhao carry, and he would just be impossible to kill because of the stacking armor and MR. Didn't really work out, because Xin Zhao turned out to be worthless, but I think this is really good. And, yeah, hopefully this makes it so, like, I mean, I already think Jhin is really oppressive if you get him super early and you have Warlords, but now this makes his mid game more consistent. So hopefully this does something good. Yuumi, I don't know why they're buffing Yuumi. Yuumi is actually like the second most broken unit in the game. I don't understand why they're buffing Yuumi. She's already running over your team every time anyways, so it just doesn't make sense to me. Talent health buff, as well as the damage buff. So I'm not sure if this brings Talon back or not, but it definitely makes you more inclined to play it. Now, here's the thing. Talon can never kill Warwick, ever. But with the Warwick damage reduction nerfs, as well as this lifesteal nerf. So, okay, let me cover this first, right? As I was saying, 1-star Warwick cannot stabilize your board anymore because of that damage reduction nerf, as well as this lifesteal nerf. Your Warwick will die. Even if you high roll other units, I think your Warwick will still die. Even at 2-star, this makes it so Warwick, because there are so many situations where even at 2-star, your Warwick just barely lives, and then lifesteals back. Now your Warwick's actually going to die. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it's very balanced, but it takes a lot of power away from the comp regardless. And as a result, because of Warwick being nerfed, it might bring Ashe back, because Ashe can actually kill. It definitely buffs Jhin. And now it's definitely buffing Talon, right? So with these Talon buffs, I think the meta's probably going to go back to being something like Ashe, Talon, Jhin, or Ashe, Talon, Dusk. And Warwick, I think, is still probably going to be playable, but these nerfs are really, really hefty. Your Warwick will die in many occasions. It might actually make it so that the comp is now rapid fire Warwick and backline it, just because I don't think he can survive anymore in the front line. This really hurts. I think this is really, really hefty. I think this will actually affect you in like 7 out of 10 games. Yeah. Um, the the reason why they buffed Vanguard was probably because of this. Yeah, you're not playing Asher Talon ever because you can't kill Warwick, but now this is hefty. Your 1-star Warwick will not be able to stabilize you ever, and your 2-star Warwick is gonna die on so many more occasions, especially if you have Haj Jin or I-Edge Last Whisper Ash, and now I guess I-Edge Haj GA Talon. I genuinely think this is going to bring Talon back, going to bring Ash back, and going to make Warwick not nearly as consistent. Alright, Cane nerfs necessary. It's literally a slap on the wrist, as they said. It is necessary. Absolutely necessary. That's really all I have to say about it. This set bug fix is actually really good. It makes set more consistent, and it makes you feel less bad when you're playing him. Last Whisper armor reduction increase, also really good. Last Whisper is probably like the worst bow item right now, just because, or I mean, I guess other than static, right? Just because it doesn't do anything. So this is helpful. It probably going to help bring Ash back. Okay, and this is whatever, this is whatever. Alright, so that's it. That's the patch. Yeah. I don't think there's much more to say about it. But yeah. So that's the patch. Thank you guys for watching. I really want to do more of these and look to improve and see what I can change and see how I can get better as a sort of content creator or content producer. I really like what Soju and Bunny Muffins do. They're TFT streamers or YouTubers and whatnot. And I especially like what Soju does. He's my favorite TFT streamer. You can see that I'm following him over here. But basically he does like the patch notes rundown, and he also does like the patch meta where he like showcases the best comps and whatnot. And then he has like that little chest board, or he has like that board or whatever, and he shows you what units go where and with what items. So I really want to start doing that stuff as well. I don't know if I'm gonna do one for this patch. I might do one for this patch about in the middle of the patch. But I definitely, so this is just a patch prediction. Well, as the patch goes on, and then as we see what actually becomes strong, then I'll probably do a like a meta sheet, and then I'll show you guys like what boards I think are strong and what to run and how to run them and with what items. And then we'll do one of those later. But yeah, I definitely want to start doing that kind of stuff. So I want to do more of these patch notes rundowns as well as those. And yeah, hopefully that's enjoyable for people to watch. I don't know how interested people are actually going to be in seeing any of that stuff, but yeah. Anyways, like I said, this is my first video of this type. Any suggestions, any comments, I am more than happy to listen to take. You know, just send them my way and I will try to improve. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Like the video, subscribe if you liked it, and yeah, follow me on my Twitch. Alright, that's about it. See ya.